See, Vedas essentially are the essence of life. In the Vedas, everything is explained and expressed from the very mundane, the gross aspect of existence to the subtlest. All the grosser aspects come under what's called as the Karma Kanda, the material aspect of the Vedas, and all the knowledge or the subtler aspects come under the Jnana Kanda, which is also called as the Upanishads. So in one sense, Upanishads are the cream of the Vedas. And there are 108 Upanishads, of which 10 are called the principal Upanishads, and Kena is one of them. And all the Upanishads, they just speak about one thing. They glorify Brahman, the self. And the essence of the entire Upanishads has been summed up very beautifully by Adi Shankara in this one sentence. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman or pure consciousness is the only independent reality. Everything else is dependent, transitory realities. So this can be better understood with an analogy. So you are standing in front of a mirror. So in the mirror you can see your reflection. The reflection is dependent upon the person standing in front of the mirror. The person can exist without the reflection, but the reflection cannot exist without the person. And to see the reflection, you need a mirror. That mirror is the medium, or what you call the mind. So what you see in the mirror is a projection of you. Similarly, the pure consciousness, when it passes through the mind, it projects itself through the mind as this body, mind, and the universe, the world, the material world. It's called Jiva and the Jagat. So the Jiva and the Jagat, they are mithya, which means they are a dependent reality. It does not mean they don't exist. They exist. It's like a white light passes through a prism and the 7 colors come. The 7 colors are not an illusion. The 7 colors exist. The 7 colors are all sourced from the white light. And because of the medium of the prism, the white light itself appears diverse as 7 colors. Similarly, the same pure consciousness, when it moves through the medium called Maya or the mind, it projects itself as diverse objects and beings, which we call as Jiva and the Jagat. If this understanding is there, that is fine. That is all projection. This is the real. And when the mirror is not there, there is no reflection. So that's why when the mind is shut down, as in deep sleep, your world disappears. This body disappears. Same thing happens in Samadhi. When you go deeper into meditation, this awareness of the body and where you are disappears. And that's why when you are coming out of meditation, we need to reinforce it on you. We need to project it to the mind back, saying that wake up. You're coming back to where you were, so that you don't get confused. So there is a independent reality or the absolute truth called as the Brahman, and there is a dependent reality or the projected truth or a transitory truth called as the Jiva and the Jagat or Vyavaharika Jiva. And in our life we experience both, but where we stand most of the time is important. If we are spending most of our time in the world, acknowledging people and situations, the diversity of creation, in the Vyavaharika Jiva, then we are controlled by the mind. It may be very nice to hear that, okay, I am Brahman, I am pure consciousness, all this is a projection. Whatever is happening in the projection does not touch me. But in practice, if you feel that everything that is happening around you is touching you in one way or other, is impacting you, then what to do? If that is your reality, what to do? This is what happened to Arjuna. And Arjuna was so distraught by his own circumstances, and he told Krishna, I don't know what to do, I'm in anguish. The first thing Krishna said, I see that you are in anguish, but the cause of your anguish is not the circumstance around you, is how you are seeing the circumstance. It's like, suppose you have an interview or an exam tomorrow. Do you see how much stress builds up in you? The event is not causing the stress. It is how you project the event. Oh, I might not have studied enough. I don't know which questions will come. Whether I will remember all that I have studied. This is what brings the anxiety, the anguish. So it is not the event as such. It is your projection of the event. Your acknowledgement of the event in a wrong sense. And Arjuna doesn't get this. If somebody tells you, yes, this is all unreal, whatever is happening is not going to touch you, your real self. But if you say, look, somebody said something, I'm still being impacted by it, somebody did something, all this is impacting me, the health in my body, the health in my mind, the thoughts, the worries, all these are still impacting me, what to do? Then Krishna says, okay, let me come one step down. He says, this is the truth, whether you accept it or not, it is. Now we all know that, there is life and there is a life situation. Life is that pure consciousness which is running in the background. Right now it is there. Yeah? Can you see? As you are listening to this, as you are seeing, you can see life ticking in the background. It's like this clock which is always ticking in the background, but you are so engaged in the outside world that you never hear it. But when you go to sleep or when you are sitting for a meditation, then the sound becomes very clear. So when the dust of the mind is wiped out, or when the mind settles down, this life process becomes alive. And this ability to keep the mind aside and use it when you need, just like you use your hands or feet or the intellect, is wisdom, is enlightenment. And the whole sadhana is geared towards moving you into a plane where you are able to have a mastery over the mind. Because mind is Maya. And mind thrives in an environment of low prana. That is why when you meditate and the prana becomes high, you become more receptive to knowledge. Sadhana makes you receptive to knowledge. So that's what Krishna does. What does Krishna do? He tells Arjuna, okay, you don't get what I am saying. So now the reason is because your prana level is very low. So let me tell you how to raise your prana. And so he inculcates discipline in him. The first 5 chapters are becoming a yogi. Have a say over the senses, have forbearance, engage in right action, be in the right company, have the right type of food, listen to the right things. Be able to engage in action without giving too much importance to the results. So all this filtering or purification process, the Shuddhikarana he does, that is what a yogi is. A yogi is an individual with a purified inner faculties. So he's like a cleaned mirror, so he can see the reflection very clearly and see the difference between the reflection and the self. And when Arjuna is a little bit more ready, has become a little bit more trained in the path of yoga, he then says, okay, all this I told you to purify your inner faculties. Now you have to learn to move from action to non-action. And then see that all actions are anyway happening through the Brahman. And whatever actions are happening through you, via the mind, are because of the gunas. Through sadhana, as you establish more and more in the witness, as you become more and more steady, you are able to experience this life process and not get caught up too much in the mind. Until then, you need to keep practicing. Why should you practice? Because if you don't practice, you continue with the same pattern. And you have been living with this pattern of holding on to the world for lifetimes. At least now you have come to this state where You are aware that there is a realm beyond the mind. And it's important to go to that realm because that realm is beyond suffering too, and nobody wants to suffer. So we should have this intention to move beyond. But what to do if I am now in that state? First, become aware that the only state in which you feel freedom or independence is through your connection with the Brahman. And only the path of knowledge gives you. When you go to the path of yoga or the path of bhakti, there's still another dependency, whether it's on the guru or on the god or on the project or on your own body. There is a dependency. The only thing that teaches you or takes you to total independence is the path of knowledge. But if you think you are not ready for it yet, then keep it in the background and work towards purifying these faculties through your sadhana. So the first step is, if the world appears still very real, if you're still getting too much entangled in the world, become aware that yes, there is a reality beyond this. This is only a transitory reality, and I am aware that I am stuck in this reality. And one of the reasons you being stuck could also be that you don't want to let go of that. Why do you not want to let go of that? Because you have invested your life in it. What are those investments? These are called as the Eshanas. Putreshana, Vitteshana, Lokeshana and Jiveshana. The Upanishad says there are 4 things which bind you to the world and prevent you from uplifting yourself into the spirit. That is an attachment to the children, the progeny, attachment to wealth or possessions, attachment to this very body, afraid of death, and attachment to fame, social recognition, what people think about you, what people will talk about me. As long as you're holding on to these tightly, it will be very difficult for you to establish in the witness. So you need to learn to let go. How do you let go? Through your sadhana. So first, become aware that I am limited by my attachment to the world. Second, develop a sankalpa that I want to move beyond. Because these 4 Eshanas, which not only, yes, they no doubt give you some sort of a pleasure, some sort of a value in this world, at the same time, remember, these are the ones which give you pain as well. Once you realize that, it becomes a little bit more easier to rise, to let go of them every now and then. That's what you do when you sleep and when you meditate. But more and more being in the witness consciousness will help you to let go of them more easily. Yeah, and then intensify your sadhana. Your sadhana is the key to unlock the Brahman. The more sadhana you do, the more prana you accumulate. The higher the prana, the more easy for you to make the switch. To be able to see the transitoriness of everything. To be able to experience the pain of the world, at the same time see, oh, look what is happening, and be able to let go. Are you getting this? So intensify your sadhana. Be regular with your practices. When you have some holidays or free time, do a bit more, do more pranayams. Pay a little bit more attention to your food. Do some asanas. Attend silence programs. At least once every 3 months. Get into silence. And during weekends, when you're not at work, for 2-3 hours or half a day, practice silence at home. Yeah, be on your own, observe your breath, be more mindful. Listen to someone. See, we got so many talks now. Listen to the talks, make some notes, reflect upon them. Call one of your sadhak friends and discuss with them. This Shravana Manana will make it all part of you, consolidate within you. And thus what happens? You develop a taste for knowledge, taste for meditation. Once you develop a taste, that is it. Then the grace has started to flow into your life. Yes, there will be a little bit of challenges put forward to you just to see how determined you are, how committed you are. If you are like Nachiketa, who cannot be swayed at all by all the royalties which Yama gives to him, then the grace starts showering on you instantly. So your commitment and your sadhana will make you prioritize your knowledge, and when you have done that, you are not far away. Yeah. Until then, and as long as we are in the mind, we have these fleeting glimpses of the divinity, of the infinity. And then it becomes a part of our very own reality. Yeah, remember, the self is the only one which makes you independent. The world makes you dependent, isn't it? You become dependent on the world. So there's a beautiful way the Upanishads say, use all your energies and strive for liberation. And when the world appears real, use the world as a platform to serve. Engage your energies in the self to liberate, in the world to serve, to give happiness. We usually use the world to gain happiness. We see happiness in the world and try to hold on to it because we want to get happiness out of it. But the Upanishad says the only source of true happiness is yourself. Seek happiness from the self, give happiness to the world. That is seva. And if you look around, this is what all the enlightened masters are doing. Their primary focus is the self. They are always Atma Ramate, we call it. They are all rejoicing in their own self. But whatever actions they are doing in the world is uplifting others, is serving others. Their very existence is a service. And their life is a model for us, is a lesson, is a manual for us. Yeah, so it's very important. Though Upanishads appear very aloof, very high, they are very close to us. They are very practical. Yeah, keep practicing, be in this practice of meditating again and again and again, and going through these knowledge sessions, listening to the knowledge, reflecting and discussing. You will see that it becomes more and more your own nature. Okay, so now let's move to the Upanishads, and then let's quickly go through a few selected shlokas of the Kena so we can summarize the whole Upanishad. So this is the opening shloka, very beautiful shloka. And what it indicates is the maturity of the disciple. The master is always present, but when a mature disciple comes around, then a perfect answer is given. Just like Ashtavakra was ready, Janaka was ready, Ashtavakra appeared. Just like when Rama was ready, Vasishta appeared. So this is a beautiful shloka. It says, Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha Kena prana pratama praiti yuktaha Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti Chakshushrotram kavo devo yunakti. An immature intellect is holding on to the world, and the questions it asks is all about the world. Why is this happening? Why are you doing like this? Why are you behaving like this? Why don't you behave like this? Why is this happening to me? Why is all this happening around? It's all about people and situations. Now here, somebody is trying to look at what is happening within. The disciple has done some sadhana. Now he is asking the question to the Guru. How does the thought arise in the mind? How does this mind travel around from one thing to another? How does this prana engage with this body and then make all this myriad of activities happen? How do the eyes see? How does the mind decipher all the information from the senses? What is it that is directing this movie called life? Who is the director of all these actors? The prana, the body, the mind, the senses. Yes, who is it? Who is doing all this? And right now you need to ask this question, right now. Instead of all the simple, silly questions that arise in the mind, ask the question, where is this happening from? What made me come and sit here? And when I am listening, what is happening in my awareness right now? What is it? Who is listening? Who is experiencing? From where is all this knowledge coming from? And where is it touching? What? Where? From how? The master says, Shrotrasya shrotram manasau mano yad vachoha vacham sau pranasya prana. He does not give a straight answer. He says, what you are looking for does exist. But where is it? It is beyond the ear. It is the ear of the ear. It is the speech of the speech. It is the awareness of the awareness. It is the prana of the prana. And it is the mind of the mind. What he means is, it is beyond the senses. It is to which the senses report. It is to which the mind reports. All the sense objects, when they come in contact with the senses, you have the experience of life. Experience is contact of the sense objects with the sense organs. And that experience is only felt when the mind is active. So the mind is experiencing. Hold on, not just there. The mind will only experience when it is illuminated by the consciousness, the pure consciousness from behind. When mind is not illuminated, like as in deep sleep, even when somebody touches you and somebody speaks to you, you may not be able to hear. You may not be able to feel the touch. Why? The experience dissipates away because the mind is not being illuminated. So he says, that which illuminates the mind and through the mind illuminates all the senses and the objects, that is what you are looking for. And he says two other things. When you realize this, the ultimate reality is that which is beyond the mind, then you become immortal. And we spoke last time, what is immortality? In the present moment you are immortal. This present moment is vast and deep and never ending. It is not moving from one second to another. It is here right now. The mind is in the past, the mind is in the future. Those two are imaginary as well as finite. That is mortality. The past and the future are mortal. The present is immortal. And right now when you become aware of the self, you are here in this moment. And when you are in this moment, you have attained immortality. You are here right now. Do you see this? So one who realizes this, the mind of the mind, he attains immortality. Once he rises above the matter. Once he is able to let go of the matter. And he explains, it is difficult to explain, but he says, I will try to explain. What is it? It is something where the eyes can't go. It can't be seen by the eyes. It can't be expressed by speech. It can't be known by the intellect. It can't be taught either. And it is beyond that which you know and beyond that which you don't know also. Usually our intellect stops at this realm. I know, I don't know. But what is it which is beyond knowing and not knowing is the presence. It is another dimension of our own existence. Feeling the presence. The gut feeling is not known or unknown. It is coming from somewhere. The presence which you feel. And he says this is how the wise men of the past have described. That self which is the mind of the mind can't be perceived by the senses, can't be fully understood, cannot be taught, and it is beyond knowing. And he not only tells about becoming immortal, he also says this Brahman is different to what you worship as God. You know, in a few other shlokas he says, it is not expressed by speech, but what through which you express the speech, that is Brahman, and not that which you worship. So it takes to take you away from the name and form, material aspect of divinity which we think, and he says it is beyond that. So if it is beyond the mind, if it is beyond the intellect, how do you experience? Pratibodha viditam matam. Through your experiences, that's all. You feel the presence. The moment you stop the ticking mind, you become aware of your own self. Right now. Yes? Are you here now? Just become aware. Who is listening? Who is smiling? Who is understanding? In this conscious experience, you become aware of the consciousness. Every conscious experience takes you to the experience of your own self. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. Again he says, once you are in the self, time stops. You are beyond time. And then there are two other benefits. Atmana vindate viryam. The moment you are in contact with the self, you will feel a surge of prana. You feel energetic, strong. Vidyaya vindate amritam. And this knowledge, when it establishes in you, you become immortal. The knowledge makes you immortal. The contact with the self makes you strong and unshakable. This is what we all want. We want to be strong and unshakable, not to be touched or blown away by the people and events around us. And that comes through when you rely on the self as the source of you as well as the happiness. Tasya isha adesho yadetad vidyuto vyadyutada iti nyami mishada iti adidaivatam. And whatever I say, you may not be able to understand it fully because it can't be explained or expressed. It can only be transmitted. In the presence of somebody who has experienced it, you can experience it. And if at all an attempt is made to explain to you, it will only be done by an analogy, like story. So we have a story in this Upanishad as well, where they take the example of Indra, the fire god and the air, which are the higher elements, the mind and the higher elements, the space, the air and the fire, which try to rise up compared to the earth and water. And this is when you go beyond the mind, and when the mind comes in contact with the prana, high prana, which is Devi, then you get a chance to attain the realize the Brahman. Similarly, all Upanishads there is some story. If you go to the Kathopanishad, here a boy goes to the god of death and asks him, what is beyond death? Everything ends with you. What is it that bypasses you? It's very beautiful. And Yama says, all that is matter, it comes and sticks with me, and that which is beyond matter moves through me. So the same thing given by different examples, different stories, so that you get the analogy. And Adidaivatam, when you are in the realm of the mind, most of your waking state, then for a sadhak, these experience of Brahman or divinity come as fleeting glimpses, like a flash of lightning. It just comes and suddenly you are aware or alert, but then it moves away. When you meditate, when you do your kriya, when you are in the company of the enlightened, suddenly you feel very uplifted, but then suddenly you go back to the samsara, everything comes back to you. So you say, Adidaivatam, when you are in the mind, you get a fleeting glimpse, but it disappears. How do you stay established in it? To be established in this, to be in the witness more and more, what do you need to do? Atta adhyatmam, in the realm, to be in the realm of the self. Yathetad gacchativa cha mano anena. Don't let your mind wander behind anything else except this. Bring it back again and again to the witness. The moment you become aware that you are lost, come back. Become aware that you are here, and when you are not here, when you realize, become aware, oh, I was not here. I had moved away from the present. So constantly reminding yourself, constantly bringing your mind back to the witness. Abhikshanam sankalpa. Make an intention that I want to be in this witness all the time, and then feed that thought to your mind. Keep on moving in that direction. Chayetad upasmarati. And remember how close the self is to you. Self is not something far away. It is you. It is the closest thing to you. Gurudev says in one of the talks, the closest thing to you is divinity. God is the closest thing to you. But you have kept him somewhere far away on top of a mountain. Somewhere in some temple. But it is the closest thing to you. So here the Upanishad says, if you want to be established in the self, make sure you remember how close it is to you and how close you are to it. And make a sankalpa that I want to be with it all the time, and direct your mind towards that sankalpa alone. So when you raise your intellect from the matter and establish it in the spirit, which is called awareness, when you stay in the awareness of the self again and again, when you practice mindfulness, you start off with simple things before you go to bed. Just before you sleep, as you drift off to say, I am not this body, I am not this mind, all the events that happened today, that happened in the body and the mind, I let go of it now. And when you wake up, you say, oh, I'm coming back to this world. I'm holding on to the body and the mind. I'm engaging with the world, but I am neither of them. I am the witness who is beyond this. And there will be times when you're waiting in a traffic light, when you're waiting for something else to happen. There are so many unexpected opportunities life gives you. When that happens, then become aware. What's happening in my mind right now? What's happening now? What's happening now? And when you do sadhana, be totally mindful. When you do your pranayam, follow your breath. Do your kriya, be with that process right now. Usually we want to finish it off so we can get on to the next task. The moment that thought comes, I need to finish this, then come back here. I don't need to finish this. Right now is my life happening. Again and again, being with the self. This is Adhyatma. In the realm of this is Adhyatma is a term for spirituality. This is the true spirituality. What is it? Becoming aware of the closeness of yourself, remembering it constantly, and directing all your focus on it. Then it becomes a reality. Just like the world is your reality because your focus is there, in the same way, when you change the focus, the self becomes your reality. And these are the tools. Tapa, dhamma, karma, iti pratishta. Forbearance, ability to accept the opposite without resistance. Ability to say no to the senses. You want the alarm goes off. My plan was to get up. I'm going to get up. Today I'm fasting means I'm fasting. I'm not going to eat too much sugar means no sugar. Dhamma. Because the fruit, the higher goal, it does not come that easily. You just have to give up a little bit of things which are swaying you, which are making you weak. Tapa is lack of tapa means resistance to life. And accepting life totally is the greatest tapas. Dhamma, saying no to senses. Karma, right action, discipline. Engaging in yajna for the benefit of everybody without giving too much importance to the fruit, but engaging the action totally. These are the main foundation, the tripod on which it stands. Vedas sarvang, the knowledge of the Vedas are the ones are your manual. Satyam ayatanam. Truth is the abode. To attain to the ultimate truth, use the Vedas, the scriptures, the words of the wise and the enlightened as your manual. Engage, make sure you strengthen your tapas, your dhamma and your actions. When you purify these three aspects, then it is easy to realize Brahman. And when you realize the self in this way, what happens? One who realizes self like this, apahatya papamanam, he will be free of sins instantly. Ananta swarge loke pratitishthati pratitishthati. And he stays in bliss. Pratitishthati pratitishthati. He stays established. And it says, repeats it. You definitely will be established in that world of no suffering. Ananta swarge loke jye pratitishthati pratitishthati. Yeah? So a beautiful, a unique, a short, a paradoxical Upanishad, but very enlightened. Yeah? So the Paramarthika Jiva is my true reality. I want to attain to that because that is beyond ignorance and beyond suffering. And right now, whatever is happening in my life, I will make this sankalpa to get there and I will put the effort to go through the sadhana. That should be the essence of today's session. Okay? So just reflect upon this and stay with this. Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhave. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.